Had the beast of the end time risen then to peek at the world it was to inhabit, knowing its release was imminent? He raised his gaze to the ecliptic. The answers were out there, coded in light, speeding through space and time. Liquid fire coursing through him, visions of past and future riffling through his mind. He opened himself to the reconfigured galaxy, as if in an effort to peel away the decades.
Only in an illusory, artificial world is eternal self, when fully embodied, considered a beast of the end times. Just as any dark horse or any black sheep, anyone cut from a different cloth, who truly knows themselves, truly embodies their highest heroic potential with grace, unconditional love, and strength, it truly manifests as a beast in an upside-down world. Welcome, everybody, to episode 12 of Monad of Creation. It's been a very long time. It's been about a month. And since this is the episode, the trilogy on authenticity, I'm going to be authentic. I waited a while. Something kept telling me to wait and wait to record this episode. And at the time, some things in objective reality, when really contemplated with a keen and intuitive, clear, balanced yet transcended perspective, based in gnosis, to be honest. Gnosis. It's unutterable. You cannot express feelings sometimes. You cannot express thoughts to certain beings. That being said, I kept getting told, by my internal guidance to wait every time I sat down to record the episode, and it just felt the right thing to do, and I've actually learned a whole lot the last month. It's been over a month, and I've gained a lot of field notes, and I've deeply observed the objective manifested reality we're all immersed in together, and I know what must be done, and I know what I must do. I've always known what I must do, but now I tangibly can tell what I must do. Just an aside, since it's been a long time, we have, in the Discord community, done a lot. It's been awesome. We've done a few movie nights. We've done a lot of calls. Everybody's loving the discourse there. It's very clear. It is very constructive and fun and free-flowing. And yes, it is gatekeeping because I am barring it with a Patreon support. But if someone truly values this information and they can honestly, responsibly support the work, forget about me entirely. If you want the work to continue and you want the messenger of this information to have a little easier time relaying the information, and you want to be a part of a community that does movie nights based in allegory. We've watched Ghibli films. I've dissected Princess Mononoke with people in there. I've done the same for They Live. It's been a good time, and we just hang out. And so far, no golems, no fools have entered. So if you want to support the work, check out the Patreon. I got $5, $10, and $33 donations. Thank you so much, Elijah, for the $33 donation. I appreciate it, sir. When seeking the unutterable one, the unutterable at one mint, the unutterable oneness of all manifest creation from one infinitely aware, all-encompassing, all-penetrating source. Eternal self, higher case self, willed, higher case will, in eternal now, abundantly evolves through inner space. This indwelling ascent, eternal first creation, and choice are immutable. They cannot be changed. They are always in all of existence at all times. If you happen to be listening to this and you don't understand what objective reality means, if you don't understand perception, if you don't understand cognitive dissonance, if you don't understand truth and how capital T truth exists at all times, go listen to the first, I would say the first 3 episodes, but at least episode 2, because we go over objective reality. It's very important with this one. Sovereignty episode would help too. Do not fixate too heavily on the external realms, for slight confusion or total possession may occur in the unstable mind or heart. The mind-heart dynamic. Self-mastery has and always will be the streetwise ascension path. As beings heal fragmented pieces of self, they are ascending whether they know it or not. Frequency accretion. Few techniques prove worthy, however. Current times call for unrelenting strength, knowledge, and sovereignty of the likes unseen and past dramas on this planet. To think traits in waking state do not apply to soul identity is to miss the point. I do not blame you, for there are many tricksters, fools, and cowards claiming Christ, light, and wise dominion. The inner realms are original celestial heritage, for they expand on and encompass realities beyond conventional space-time. Internal creation. Gurus, quote-unquote leaders, pathetic self-help cults, idols, and body snatchers best believe they reap what they sow. Cause and effect. No one can escape natural law. No one can escape the law of one and the beings who abide by it. It's inevitable, and it's futile to walk the path of a parasite. So this episode is going to focus on eternal self, the cleansing fire, and purification. And what it's going to entail is walking a path to knowing thyself, to self-mastery, to knowing your connection to the unutterable first fields of intelligence in all reality. Yes, so eternal self, really, what is it? People talk about self all the time. People talk about, being the son or a daughter of God. Talk about plenty, right? They could call it your soul, call it your spirit, call it who you are, simply who I am, I know myself. But eternal self, ultimately, when fully known, to the best you can in a human body, is knowing your purpose, your relationship to all manifest creation, your relationship to the unseen, your relationship to yourself, to all yourselves, and it's really abiding by a natural law, respecting free will, respecting all choices made by all beings, in engaged detachment. You don't let things ruin your frequency. You don't let anything throw you into a frenzied state of uncontrollable anger. And I'll take it as far as to say, you don't let anything take you too far into anger where there's no point of no return. And I debated you. I actually say there's no point in being angry at all. Because if you know someone is misled, you truly know someone is misled, there's and you know why. You truly know why. And you know truth. You know reality. And you say you know yourself. You say you're a sovereign being. You should not let misled people, no matter what they're doing, get you angry. Okay? What that is, it's disgust. So eternal beings who know their eternal self, they operate in a state of engaged detachment. And I bring up anger right now because it's a vital component to genuine beings who really know what's going on and who are on the path towards self-mastery, towards objective reality seeking, towards truth, towards the Creator themselves. And really, if I'm going to be honest and just candid and have a conversation with you guys, I see a lot of red pill cadets coming forth. And having this information of eternal self, the cleansing fire of clearing the distortions and obfuscation and lies with easy discernment, continually, and purification, just purifying all, is really key. So going back to what eternal self is at its essence, is just truly knowing yourself, what you incarnated for. Yes, incarnated. Someone listening might not even understand. Why is he acknowledging incarnation? Happens to be a reality. And if you learned previously how to do research on your path, I'm sure you could find out what I'm alluding to here. But yes, what you incarnate for, I trust you to figure out, piece together the narrative I've put forth so far, what I mean by incarnating here at this point in time. You know your mission, you know yourself, and you abide by objective morality, which is attained at a certain level of awareness. You respect all beings no matter what they do, because there is no polarization. There is no duality. Beings making these disgusting decisions to a being who knows eternal self knows that they're misled too. They know that the Luciferian, Metatronic, Satanic, the dark occult bloodlines that have pervaded, and infiltrated all hierarchical components of this planet. We know that they're just misled too, on a cosmic level, on an unutterable level that is not in any textbook, that is not in any religious book. It's not really in any teaching. Most teachings have been polarized into a good and evil complex. And someone who knows eternal self, they look at the external degeneracy in disgust. They look at the muck, they look at the madness and engaged detachment, and they love all creation regardless. They love themselves regardless. They love their fellow beings regardless, and they do what must be done. So honestly, I'm going to do an episode later on about integrating natural law and Christic principles. Christic principles are walking the way of Christ, in short, okay? With a lot more entailed. But I'm going to make an episode later on about that. But this is just finding yourself. I think you get it. It's just unadulterated, eternal self. Knowing yourself, your incarnation, and that there is an unalterable, eternal first creator, and you're part of that field in all reality. And it's all respected, it's all precious. All manifestations are precious. and you carry yourself with dignity, strength, power, might, determination, and clarity above all else. And you absorb all perspectives from all walks of life to gain ultimate awareness, because through ultimate awareness comes ultimate love. Because through ultimate awareness you gain so many, from a very simple point, you gain so many perspectives on so many walks of life, even, that you inherently will gain. If you're a genuine being, you will gain insight in your love, your unconditional love, not lukewarm emotional love. You're not going to feel pity. You're not going to cripple yourself or crumble in shame and fear and sadness. You're not. The unconditional love is unconditional adoration and appreciation for all creation, and respect and reverence. That's what it is. You'll look at all creation and say, I understand we are all one. Not in a lukewarm way, not in a pacifist, watered down, distorted way. No, we're all one, and this is a serious manifested reality. And I will carry myself with dignity. And all the components I just mentioned. So eternal self is self-mastery, capital self. It's not service to self, it's service to others. It's the law of one, natural law. Respect for all creation and free will. And if you infringe on someone's free will, whether the action is perceived to be good or bad, you don't infringe on you. It's really high tier overstanding, okay? This is not polarized. And when I say this, you don't infringe on free will. It's not saying you don't defend yourself. It's not saying to lay down and be a pacifist. It's not saying to not stand up for what is right and good. It's saying, in layman's terms, for what's going on the planet, if there is a small group of beings enslaving the population, which they always have been, but now it's a little more apparent. If there's a whole group of beings enslaving the population, and you think you and your buddies can just go, take them down with brute force and an angry fury and just cause more chaos and destruction. First of all, you don't know yourself. You really don't know yourself in relation to objective reality, because the odds are not on your favor. I don't know if you've really done research on what type of technology exists in reality in all realms. But this is not 1776. This is not any sort of rebellion that we've ever seen in the past. You've really got to place your time and attention and your resources where it matters. So when you see free beings who are disgusting, putrid, and foolish, exercising their free will choice in a disgusting, really disrespectful way towards creation, and you don't really have the means to stop them without detrimenting or negatively affecting innocence yourself, surely, and it just doesn't check out with your internal guidance. In those situations, those free will choices, you're going to have to sit with those disgusting free will choices that are harming others. Those free will choices that are objectively harming others, you're going to have to learn how to integrate what is going on, integrate the nature of being on a prison planet where the power differential is pretty scary from a certain point of view. It's not scary, it just is what it is, and you have to be able to look at it and place your love for all creation where you can be effective. Now, A being who knows eternal self, and they see, a fight break out, or they see someone get assaulted, and someone is clearly transgressing on natural law and harming someone with violence, violating their space. And you see it go down, and you see that happen. And someone who knows eternal self is going to step in and use their free will choice to break that up, to hopefully neutralize the situation in a loving manner, even if force is required. See, folks, it's all about balancing your intellect and your intuition, your mind and your heart. All components of self and all realms internally, and your objective matter brain, your fecal body, integrating all of it, and really having the clarity, really having the perspectives to know what must be done. See, it's really not so simple from a certain point of view. It's not. And I fully understand this is high frequency information. I really know what I'm doing. I know who my audience is, and I know who I'm trying to gear myself towards. So if you're not getting it, you can surely come join the Patreon and ask some questions. I am there to clarify any of this. But in these transmissions, in these hour or so transmissions, I am packing in overstanding and knowledge that just transmits through this vessel. Okay? So eternal self, you know your soul identity. You really know your soul identity. And that just really could just mean someone knowing themselves, and not having all the answers, not having all the specifics of past lives, having the specifics of other, higher and internal selves, you don't always have to know the specifics, but really having a strong gnosis of who you are. Knowledge of God. And your relationship to what is outside of you. Being able to look at the degenerate objective reality that Earth inhabitants happen to be in, and look at it with love and adoration. Look back at yourself, know yourself with love and adoration. In engaged detachment and reverence to all manifest reality. So the cleansing fire, beings who know eternal self, that's what eternal self is, okay? But the cleansing fire, this is the fun section, because cleansing fire, you're probably curious what it meant. The cleansing fire, I'm going to start with really what we've talked about in the other, I am pouring my yerba mate out of my French press, what we talked about in the other episodes. And it all starts with birth and your environment when you grow up. I've alluded to it here and there, but where you choose to come into this reality, where you choose what family line, what body, you chose to come here. You chose to come to this planet, all right? And the situations you were born into are not irrelevant. They're not random. And they're not predetermined by a daddy god. Surely not predetermined by a daddy god. Alright? You're born into this world. You chose to come here. And you have to deal with what you chose to come into. But with the mind wiping, obfuscation, distortion, and fallen coding of this place in the biological life forms, makes you forget the unutterable. What is now unutterable is not normally unutterable. It's known. It's not a natural state of existence. So the cleansing fire, the process of self-remembrance, really, could be equated to a cleansing fire. Really could. So let's say you're born You're born into a family that is pretty well off, but their belief systems are just distorted enough. I'm going to go with one life path, alright? One possible life path. Just distorted enough to throw imbalance in the young mind. And the familial bonds and little things here and there are just putrid and, harmful enough to cause confusion in a young mind. The school environment is equally as distorted and harmful to the young mind and heart. Alright, you're born into this world with intuitive grasp. You might not have the knowledge, the intellect knowledge, the tangible facts on what the unutterable one is. You might not have that when you're born. Some beings do. Most don't. So it's really a process of having this intuitive sense. If you're a genuine being when you're born here, if you're a genuine being, you have this intuitive sense of love for everything. And you get thrown into the world and taught history, and your mind is just loaded with information. Whether you are in a homeschool co-op and they teach you about daddy gods, whether you're in a public school system, that's completely controlled, completely mind control, completely programming, malevolent programming, to keep you a happy slave, right? The degrees there are infinite. I bring this up because straight public school is 100% conditioning, And you can have some kids who are born out, in nature in some third world country. Just totally, they have it the best, to be honest. And then you got some kids who are born and live in situations where they're told slightly off, neutral, off zero doctrines and ideas that throw their consciousness, their brain chemistry, into a state of imbalance. And imbalance, as we covered in the Union, Trinity, Healing, Union, Trinity, and Healing, my Hyros Gamma's worldview healing episode, the imbalance is not good in the mind. So these what you go through in life throws you in imbalance or complete calcification, So how you do this growing up, unfortunately some beings just have the potential. They have the potential to see through all the muck and distortion. So, you could just disregard all things in school and look to what you actually care about. And some beings have the intuitive drive, the pure intuitive drive to see, to put on the glasses. Put on the glasses. Put them on. See the truth. They already have them installed for the most part. Not 100%, but they got them installed. So they have that intuitive drive, that intuitive potential to just see the disgusting muck in this degenerate civilization on the whole planet. Obviously, depending on where you are, there's degrees that are more so degenerate, more so controlling and enslaving of the mind, body, and spirit, or more so or less. It doesn't matter. At this point in human history, there's a mind trap for everyone, and the way you go about this is developing healthy discernment and healthy intuition. Objective knowledge, very objective knowledge. Objectivity is important. When you're discerning the external world, you need to take in, it's funny that I'm including this in the cleansing fire as just episode 12, 12 is a very significant number. And as episode 12, really, I'm just consolidating most of what I've already set up from what I know it needs to be done. But the cleansing fire is really just, passion for truth. And it's typically, just clarity, extreme objectivity, with healthy discernment, and just taking in as many perspectives as you can. And beings not doing this, beings choosing boxes, sure, we could call it boxes, right? But it's not even that bad. It doesn't even have to be that extreme. You can just be a little imbalanced, You can be a little imbalanced, a little polarized from something outside of you. And, there's degrees to everything, man. Kings and queens, there's degrees to everything. But I'm trying to illustrate that all it takes is one little imbalance that someone clings to so dearly, or one erroneous worldview that one clings to so dearly, that just lets them miss the overall point of life and really build themselves to prepare for death. And those beings might have to restart all over again because they didn't take time to learn. It's learning. And through learning brings healing and evolution. What we see going forward is going to be very interesting. So the cleansing fire, really just discernment, zeal for truth, total clarity, super objective, and taking in as many perspectives as you can. Because as many of you know, or are intuitively realizing, most ideas on the planet are based in something true. Most ideas, most religions, most traditions, most groups, the core essence of most things has an amount of truth in it. But it's just the muck and grime and buildup of erroneous and distorted concepts and ideas that really ruin things for beings. So the cleansing fire just dissolves and burns away, the muck and just all the grime. It burns everything away, and it really just purifies. And as a kid, at this point, it's just I truly feel like when I listen to my eternal self, most of you here resonate with the fact that when you were little, up until this very moment in time, something's wrong with this place. Something truly is wrong with this place. And the cleansing fire probably brought you here. I know for the majority, I'm preaching to the choir, but on the off chance I'm not, if this is new information, deeply think about why this might be triggering. Deeply think about why this feels awkward. Why does it feel wrong to hear someone simply say, "Be a strong individual," in reference to all beings in creation? Be a strong individual, an individuated unit of eternal first creation. Just know yourself and know truth. And love people. And you might think I'm talking about emotions. No. I'm talking about total awareness. You care for everything. And you will do what must be done because you know, and you feel. Not putrid infantile emotions, not misled information. You objectively know to the core of your being, your generative core, and you feel out of your generative core. You feel. It's energy. Okay? So, whether you're here and you still believe in politics, the cleansing fire in politics, yes, I'm talking about politics. Really choosing a more daddy-oriented authoritative, controlling tyrant, or a tyrant that is going to take care of all your wants and desires and really pat you on the back and feed you and protect you, support you. And what is that ultimately doing? That is not being self-sufficient. And when one is not self-sufficient, at least in the mind and heart. The manifested physical reality, sure. Being self-sufficient and growing your own garden, having your own food supply, having your own homestead, being off-grid, that stuff, yes. That's the ultimate goal for any genuine incarnate right now. It should be. But it's really hard. This system, everything that's this illusory construct, this thing that claims abundance and offers zero abundance. Yeah, politics. Are you being pulled into a more submissive baby mindset that really needs to be spoon-fed and coddled by your state, your mommy state? Or are you a rigid, just everything needs to be controlled, everything needs to be micromanaged and the way I want it. And everything needs to be the way I want it. And I'm service to self, but I claim to walk the ways of Christ. I'm service to self, and I claim to revere the Creator. But I really micromanage and control every aspect around me. And I also want my tyrant daddy and my daddy God to the control I want to see done to the world, done for me through a more putrid, disgusting service to self being who's misled on a totally different cosmic level, totally different celestial, eternal, universal level. Anyway, I want those beings to just control my enemies for me, decimate and kill my enemies for me. And that's what my savior would want, right? So are you a little lost, child? You want to be taken care of by your tyrant, or are you? I really hate that I'm going to politics at this point. It's really disgusting. And this being the 12th episode, I think it might be the last time I actually spend conscious time on politics. It is government. I hate to bring up government too at this point, but it is the strong arm force, statism, of control for all humanity. For truth and information, whether the government is a corporate oligarchy or what have you, whatever it is, information is what matters most. And as you can see, it's pretty filtered through lobbies, private interests, which control most authoritarian states on the planet. If you want Daddy Trump to save you from the libtards, you want him to save you, and you want, that is, you don't know yourself, and you haven't been paying attention to reality. If you want Biden to keep you safe from the coronavirus, the TV virus, the Tecate virus, if you want Mommy Biden, I'm sorry, I think I said Daddy Biden, Mommy Biden, take care of me, save me from the scary virus. What's the underlying component with all of this? The removal of truth, the lack of clarity and honesty, the lack of the cleansing fire that burns away all degeneracy. You lack the fire. Robert Nesta Marley said, we got something they can never take away. We got something they can never take away. And it's the fire. The fire. It's burning down everything. Ride Naughty Ride off Survival. Yes, he was talking about Right Now. And if you want, you can go on my YouTube or my BitChute and look at the video I made for that track. But the cleansing fire of discernment, intuition, strength, objectivity, truth, and unconditional love and engaged detachment, needs to be developed throughout life. And starting as a child, it starts with intuition, strong intuition. And where you end up depends on which doctrines you're taught, which ideas you're taught, which components of reality you're spoon-fed. And once you're an adult, it's up to you. Once you're out of the ringer of mind control, and you still don't own up to your thoughts, emotions, and actions, and you still don't own yourself, and you do something that's slightly off center, whether it's to your own child, and you're acting more childish than your own child, yeah, there's something wrong. You're an adult. You're supposed to own yourself and own your thoughts, emotions, and actions. If you don't have the cleansing fire, you're not going to do this. You're going to die, and you're going to weep and regret when you pop out of your matter body and realize that everyone you've ridiculed, everyone you've ever talked to that you were condescendingly mocking, when you realize that you were the one suffering and you were the one who was completely seeping into degeneracy and ignorant bliss. A lot of these people are ignorant. I have to make this clear, okay? When I talk about degeneracy and muck, I'm talking about all of it. I'm talking about false light, totally false light, false idols, and I'm talking about, the putrid harm and violence that's committed. I'm talking about all things that are not pure on this planet. I think you get it. So we're going to spend the next 15-ish minutes talking about purification, purity, okay? Purity and innocence, all right? Purity and innocence, man. It's vital. Purification. What did the cleansing fire do to eternal self? Well, the being didn't know eternal self if it weren't for the cleansing fire that they incorporated to the way they carry themselves throughout this life. If they didn't apply the cleansing fire to self, whether it was lowercase self, highercase self, if they didn't apply that fire, they wouldn't have found eternal self. So what comes after finding eternal self? Maintaining purity and innocence. Okay? Homegirl on Instagram, Tiger Paw, she actually mentioned me in her story, and I'm always talking about ignorant bliss and people being misled into ignorant bliss, which is actually just a very disgusting, fetid state of existence, but it's called ignorant bliss for a reason, because they don't know it. The lady kindly mentioned me in her Instagram story alongside Iesha Ashayanadin, and she was mentioning how Iesha talks about, Iesha is responsible for Voyagers 1 and 2 and the Tantrayara teachings and Arias productions, okay? Iesha talks about, what was it, innocent awareness. I hope I'm not butchering it. Yes, innocent awareness. And Tiger Paw talked about how coupling the concepts and integrating the concepts that I really nail over repeatedly, and I'm yawning all the time. My eternal self is just yawning at the state of humanity. I'm just yawning through it all. About ignorant bliss and nescience and, being misled and people not caring about being misled, all these components. She talked about how integrating the knowledge of objective reality and how people become blissfully ignorant. That state is the opposite of innocent awareness, But integrating the knowledge of the two is key. And innocent awareness, okay? Innocent awareness. What is awareness? We've talked about this before. I don't know. Look at the early episodes. Awareness is somewhere on there. I think it's sovereignty, love, that one. Awareness is, what is the word being aware? Observing everything objectively, knowing everything objective. Well, not everything. Don't get me wrong, not everyone knows everything. Knowing as much as you can. Being present moment awareness. Being observant. Cognizant, seeing things for what they are. Really seeing things for what they are. With no blinders, no muck and distortion clouding your vision. Total awareness. Some beings get a little, misled with awareness. And they think that they need to shove the truth down everyone's throat because of how aware they are. Or they need to force it on others. Well, what is that? You're just forcing, and most often, family, when you're forcing truth to other people who are refusing it, you're wasting their time and your time. You really are. Truly. So innocent awareness is embodying your eternal inner child, the state of your that intuition you had when you were born and you didn't have any knowledge in your brain. When you're an infant, purity. Think about something you loved when you were a child, something that brought you joy when you were a child, or something you love now. That just makes you so happy and joyful. I'm gonna play a Instagram TV video at the end of this podcast as a part of this transmission. You can listen to it. It's about holistic joy and grounded 0 point consciousness. But anyway, innocent awareness, you really love everything, the components of eternal self. Innocent awareness, you love everything. You're pure in heart, you're pure in mind, you're pure in how you carry your thoughts, emotions, and actions. But with the awareness, okay, comes strength, okay? Because you know what must be done. You know what is, you know all that is. To the best you can. You don't know everything. You're not the cosmic Adashic record. You're not there. You're in a fecal body right now. Okay? You're for all intents and purposes, I'll be honest. I'm sure you understand the integration of duality and polarity into a cosmic joke. But you're in a matter fecal body. And you're surviving. Okay? But it's beautiful. With this innocent awareness, you understand it's beautiful. And you don't know everything. You can't know everything. And that's beautiful too, because you're remembering. You really have to integrate these components with innocent awareness. But ignorant bliss is not where you want to be. It's where a majority of humanity is. And innocent awareness is where you want to be, because with innocent awareness, you embody your inner child and your mature strength based in truth. Okay? There's a lot of false light going on. And I zeroed in on the New Age in the past, and I'm going to have to zero in on some other things that are happening. It's a story for another day. It's a reality for another day to be discussed deeply. Because things are serious, but they're fun. They're enjoyable. But they're disgusting. Alright? So, purification really is integrating eternal self, knowing how to align your thoughts, emotions, and actions, like we talked about in episode 6. What you need to do to evolve based in love. What humanity needs to do to evolve based in love. What planet Earth needs to do to evolve based in love. Hopefully at least one component. Eternal self is important, because when you live in an aggregate population, when you live in a society or a town, well, the state of consciousness, the state of awareness, the state of being, the type of beings inhabiting those areas dictate really collectively through the decisions they all make. It really dictates the manifested reality, because you're either a sleeping creator creating a putrid decaying society, or a putrid decaying reality for yourself. The degrees of the decay could be vary greatly. It could be apparently very bad for some people, like starvation and violence, or it could just be slow burn, degenerate behavior that's not doing good for you or anybody else. Or, okay, you could be a sleeping creator, right? Or you could be an instantly aware creator, and you're strongly, vigilantly going forward into the future, and you're not making assumptions, okay? No assumptions made, no assumptions as known. No expectations as known. You just do what must be done, because you know and feel your mind and heart are in the right place. Zero hiding of truth, zero infighting, okay? You're walking the path of Christ, if you will. And if you for 1 second say you're walking the path of Christ, especially in a spiritual community, you better be doing so. You better be holding up your attitudes, responsibilities, and disciplines well, and people who do, they realize it's nature, You got to consume this matter, you got to pump it out into some nasty waste, and your body just does it. Well, things that become that second nature, whatever the terminology is, that natural to your being, to your body, your physical body, like breathing. Well, these components of consciousness become that natural to a being who's integrated eternal self-cleansing fire towards purification of all time. This is the integrative approach to all reality. Okay? This is a poetic mess, but I'm not worried about saving people. I'm not worried about, really catering towards any specific group. I'm generating my experience in an objective reality that I'm subject to. Okay? Following my heart, following my eternal self, in reverence to the unutterable one. The first fields of intelligence. Purity, really. And it's only natural. It's only natural, because outside of this mess, purity is the state. Purity is it. Outside of this mess. Okay? This service to self nonsense, harm, degeneracy, decay, all these components that are seemingly natural, they're not natural. Once you embody purity, you've used the cleansing fire and integrated it, you're burning away all illusion. Got your eternal self going? Yes, that's it. Be the strongest illusion-crushing Sith Lord. And simultaneously, the most unconditionally loving, engaged, and detached Jedi, and obliterate both doctrines. Transcendence. Really. Check out the Instagram. I hate the tool. I don't hate it. It's unfortunate, the tools we have to work with. Check out the Instagram. I'm posting there every day. Check out the Patreon. I would really encourage that. If you really feel drawn, and you really feel drawn to talk to a community and people who get it, people who end up there get it, okay? And you want a comfy place, it's not about me at all. Remove this identity. You might not even know my name. I've only mentioned it a few times. You might not know what I look like. I've only shown face a few times. It's not about me, it's about eternal knowledge. Okay, and it's about protecting eternal knowledge with purity and strength. And hanging out too. People won't ignore that. And having fun. Enjoy the experience. So I'm going to play this Instagram live I did about holistic joy, because a friend asked me about joy, and grounded 0 point, because 0 point consciousness is something talked about a lot with the Ascension Glossary crowd, some of the Keylontic Science crowd. And okay, if you're not keen to that stuff, 0 point consciousness is just neutrality. It's neutrality and clarity, and being able to embody different traits and components depending on your situation, and remember eternal self and truth. Stability, okay? Stability. I'm going to play that Instagram live. Check out the Patreon. Really appreciate it. Once again, Patreon shout out. Elijah, Wakan144 on Instagram, homie, right there. Let's connect. If anything, I'm not going to start any sort of profound movement, but if I could just, if this knowledge and what I've come to understand and integrate could help one person, yeah, don't be shy. You know, the astral necrosis gets everybody somewhere. But once you can deflect that stuff, you know, going all the way up to 12, and realize it's not where you should be, really, you actually just go to the inner stargates, the inner realms, yourself, and you just grow forever. You evolve forever. And this knowledge ultimately should be for that. But stay tuned. We'll be doing more episodes, more frequently, no more trilogies. It's too rigid for me. I realize doing the trilogy setup is too rigid, and I'm just going to flow. I'm going to keep flowing with this podcast, and do it when I can, do what must be done continually. Check out the links, check out the Facebook page, BitChute, all the podcast stuff, Instagram. Much love, unconditional love, total awareness. You got this. It's up to you. It really is. Let's listen to that video. You've gone crazy? Well, I wanted to talk about joy because a friend asked me about joy, because I used the word joy. And the word joy ultimately is a term for happiness. And it seems like when people talk about consciousness or reality, you can't have joy, right? When you're really being real and you're being realistic about it, it seems like you can't have joy because everything is so bleak when you actually look at it with real eyes, and you realize the seeming futility of human existence. The seeming futility and the seeming chaos and madness and absolute degradation and decay of humanity, and based off of the choices the aggregate makes, and putting themselves, abdicating the responsibility towards external authority figures, be it institutions or other people, other beings that they don't know. So it's super, super, super bleak, super futile seeming when people wake up to reality. And so this is why it's so important to talk about higher case self, knowing thyself, knowing the higher case self, and 0 point creation mechanics and consciousness mechanics, which really just means neutrality, true neutrality in being an observer and engaged detachment. So when you talk about these things, especially when you break them down into terms of dynamics of behavior, dynamics of psychology and action, and relate it to what's going on in the world, and point out that what is going on in the world is because humanity has not listened to the true, pure teachings of unified sovereignty amongst the race globally. They didn't listen to the unconditional love teachings. They didn't listen to the teachings that gave strength in mind, body, and spirit. They even ignore basic truths about themselves every day. So when you find this out, and you're a genuine being, and you really find it out, it's sort of bleak. It's very bleak, depending on your nature, depending on who you are. Because the fact is there are many types of beings in human bodies, many types of soul identities in human bodies. And honestly, that's not very important. What you need to understand is the basics of perspective. So when people get red-pilled or they find out some cosmic truth, some spiritual truth about humanity, it's pretty frightening. So joy seems like it's not an option. Joy seems like it doesn't exist anymore. Having fun and laughing about things is harder to do, especially if you're very serious and you realize how important it is and how crucial the truth and reality is to oneself and the external realms that are manifested based off of the choices and actions of sleeping creators that don't know their creators, which were made by an ineffable creator that not many people can actually identify accurately. So what goes on is you realize the state of amnesia that most people are in. So what do you do? You either fixate on external realities and integrate that into yourself, and then come back to self, higher case self, and integrate the knowledge you've gained into your being. The integrative approach to the external reality. Really think about it. Really see what resonates. Also think about how it relates to you, your likes, preferences, and all that, and your behaviors. Think about how it relates to you. So what happens is often people just worry too much about what's going on outside of themselves. Whether it's worrying too much about what your child is doing, whether worrying about too much about what your friends are doing, worrying too much about what the New World Order is doing, worrying too much about what the Luciferian agenda is doing. Worry is the root of it. So what good is truth if all you're going to do is worry about it and let it destroy you? Okay, so you look at it, you come to terms with it. Coming to terms with it is recognizing your place in all of it, looking yourself in the mirror, and seeing what you can do, seeing where you can place your time and attention efficiently in terms of care, love, and growth for yourself and others. Even just making a proper action, a just action, a moral action, for yourself or someone else in every daily living life. So you're really checking yourself in accordance to what you've understood and integrated, what you've overstood and integrated, what you've integrated to yourself. Which right now for a lot of people is simply that the human species has been lied to since it's been created. Since it's been distorted, really, and enslaved. It's been lied to for a long time. And that is a soul-crushing thing. But what should come after the soul-crushing is expansion and growth towards the heights and the depths of your own soul, towards the furthest reaches of what's outside of you and the depths of what's inside of you, which is actually just one whole integrated thing. And until you realize that is actually beautiful, and until you realize that truth right there is actually wondrous and awesome and loving, capital L loving, it's the essence of all that is. Depending on your nature, that is going to be overwhelming or it's going to be natural, and you're going to say, yes, that makes sense, that's what I've been missing. So if it's overwhelming, at that point, you really have to just integrate more and come to a better understanding. Those individuals might really benefit from speaking the truth if it's too overwhelming. Some individuals are just like, yeah, that's reality, I'm just going to keep going. And really speaking on it and expressing it with your neighbors or your friends or your family, yourself, meditating on it, praying on it, just thinking about it, writing about it, anything to express what you've integrated will further normalize it. Just completely normalize what has been cut off from humanity, our birthright, which is eternal creation. But anyway, joy. Maintaining a state of joy is maintaining neutrality. It truly is. Because when your consciousness is truly neutral at 0 point stillness, true 0 point stillness with a foundation based in capital will, strength, and truth, capital T truth, and natural law principles, doing no harm, taking no shit, and then hopefully walking the path of the Christ, embodying the Christ, and totally being in control of your thoughts, emotions, and actions. And recognizing that that is beautiful right there. Recognizing that you can stay neutral and just dip into modes of action, dip into modes of, honestly, it's not inaction, it's modes of stillness. You dip into times where you go into times of stillness, and you can enjoy that to the fullest, and just be one with yourself. And then when you need to, because you will need to, if you're really honest with yourself, an honest person overstands that this existence calls for times of action. So when you're faced with either a very small, a minuscule, trivial thing that you need to take action on, or it's a world-crushing issue that you need to do something about, or it might even crush yourself, your loved ones, whatever it is, whatever the thing is that you need to take action on, being at 0 point doesn't mean just blitzing out all the time. Blissing out all the time and ignoring reality is not joy. That's not what it is. That is a psyop. That is a multidimensional, interdimensional psyop that's been implanted into doctrines and religions for a long time. It's when it's appropriate, and you know it's appropriate, and being able to take appropriate action when you know you need to, and enjoy. You might see beings and people talking about, laughing while the world is burning, laughing while people destroy themselves, laughing while the golems fight in the streets. What's up, bruh? Hey, number 2 anime fan. You're exposed. Everybody go follow number 2 anime fan in the middle of this enlightening video. Anyway, you can dip in and out of modes of thought, in and out of modes of action and stillness. You can do whatever in 0 point. And the funniest thing is, sure, a foundation and objective reality and knowledge, true knowledge, is very vital for one delving into this. But some beings can just achieve it without even really being red-pilled or anything. A lot of people can achieve this state of knowing themselves when to take action, when to have stillness, what to do. Really, 0 point is about how to govern your life and the choices to make. And there is joy in that. There's total joy in that. You're not being, pulled by your emotions, infantile emotions. You're not being tugged, at all. People can be berating you. People can be trying to control you. Things can be trying to control you, whatever it is. And you have the foundation and neutrality to look at it for what it is and laugh about it. You're welcome for pointing out that it's not blissed out. It's a huge problem, and it becomes New Age bunk again. It becomes New Age bunk all over again. People look at 0 point. If they don't have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, if they don't have a solid foundation, especially in truth or natural law, and then they go to 0 point, they're going to think it means blissing out and ignoring reality and ignoring your problems. That's not what it means. These people who talk about 0 point, they're talking about flow and neutrality, and when you can take action, and when you can be in stillness. It's really incorporating the whole entire dynamic of what is within you and what is outside of you. So the whole misunderstanding with it being just blissed out all the time is totally wrong, little humans, and you're missing the point. And what really comes with the gnosis of knowing when to take action and when to appreciate stillness and go within to the inner realms, your internal stargates, is really awesome, and that brings you a lot of joy, because that means you're in total control of self. 0 point is total control of self. It is not blissed out nescience or ignorance or refusal of what is outside of you or what is within you. Blissed out is louche, blissed out is naivete, blissed out is often being misled. So joy, ultimately, true joy, comes from neutrality, 0 point, knowledge of self, knowledge of the external reality, and integrating it all, overstanding and appreciating it with reverence, respect, and love, unconditional love, care. It's capital C, care, really, because people don't know how to understand the word love. When we speak, people are coming from places of pure, utter despair, and they hear love, they might not know what it means. It's care. It's unrelenting care for all creation. That's what it is. And that's what true love is. Awareness. Total awareness. And with total awareness comes knowledge that things matter, and that everything matters, and everything deserves unconditional love. And this whole integrated concept does bring you joy. You know what I mean? Little humans. So, really, like the Instagram and podcast descriptions say, to ignore reality is to invite chaos within and without. Reality encompasses all that's outside of you and all that's within you. It's reality. It's everything. It's not just the truths about who's running the world and destroying civilization and the human soul, the human anatomy, It's really why you don't care. It's really questioning why you haven't done anything to improve yourself. It's really questioning, who am I? It's really questioning, what have I been led to believe? Really questioning, why don't I love myself? Questioning, why don't I love my fellow human? Why do I have this inherent desire to be led in every direction based out of erroneous emotions and tendencies to be taken care of by something outside of me? Why don't I have a holistic generative core within my being that's full of abundance, prosperity, strength, knowledge, and a lack of fear of death? So much spiritual work to be done in the community, spiritual community to rectify love and truth, yes. I've been doing a total of 42 pull-ups a day. I think that's self-care. That will definitely get your physical body strong. It's a holistic approach, guys. 0 point is true holism. It's not just, and neutrality is true holism. It's not just blissing out. Joy is not just blissing out. Blissing out is ignorance, nescience, and louche, really. When you get into the mechanics of energy, it's louche. And things feed off it. They want you to be in a state of fear or ignorant bliss. That's it. Ignorant bliss or fear is really where you are conditioned to be. 0 point is knowledge of self, knowledge of the integral reality we all are immersed in, being able to overstand it, appreciate it, and enjoy and laugh about life. Stay up, everyone. You got this. Remember yourself. That's all it takes. Remembrance, transcendence. Thank you.